Everyone knows who the stars are, but championships are won by finding players whose value explodes during training camp. Training camp started this week. All NFL teams, everybody's in camp. Rookies, veterans, all those guys are in camps. And today I'm going to be breaking down the biggest position battles around the NFL that you fantasy managers need to pay attention to before draft season. Now, if any of these players win their battle, their ADP could skyrocket overnight. And it's better to be early than to be late when it comes to fantasy football. We all know that. So, without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Uh, my the first one I'm going to break down is the Raiders quarterback position. You got Kirk Cousins versus Fernando Mendoza. Now with Mendoza, he's a rookie, super rookie that is, but Cousin brings experience. Mendoza is the developmental option with mobility, and is probably the better option at this point, considering how Kirk Cousins has played the last few years. Probably the better option. Uh, but it's that's going to be that's a tough one. That's a tough one right there. So we're looking to see whoever wins this job. The Raiders have weapons, but their fantasy value is going to depend on which one of these two starts. Brock Bowers, his ceiling rises if the QB play is stable and efficient. Jalen Naylor, who was picked up by the Raiders this offseason, he becomes a lot more safer with Cousins. As we all know, rookie quarterbacks tend to lean more heavily on their tight ends. So Naylor becomes safer with that veteran Cousins throwing to him. But my prediction, Cousins is going to start week 1 unless Mendoza has an incredible camp. And word on the street is that he's been playing like a rookie so far. But it's the first week, time will tell. And you know, like I said, if Cousins wins, those skill players get a bigger boost. Next one is the 49ers backup running back position. Of course, Christian McCaffrey is still the starter. We all know that. C-Max the starter. And the real question is who becomes the handcuff, because that's going to be the most important position in fantasy football. Whoever's backing up Christian McCaffrey. Kyle Shanahan has shown backup running backs can become fantasy league winners overnight, right? Isaac Garindo, he has elite speed. Jordan James has better vision and receiving ability. And Caleb Black was drafted this year. He was pretty much a backup for most of his time in college. But the 49ers like them. They like a running back every year. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch got to be the worst running back drafters in the history of running back drafting. But the winner of this battle instantly becomes one of the highest upside late round picks. And McCaffrey, he played all the games last season. Before then he played two games after being the RB1, after having a monster season, absolute monster season. But yeah, like the winner of this instantly is fantasy relevant. Instantly. I want whoever wins this job is on all of my fantasy rosters. All of them for sure. Next one, we're gonna talk about the Broncos running back position. Now, this is a bit of deja vu because Dobbins started last year until he got hurt. Harvey played a supplemental role until Dobbins got hurt, and he played. He was just meh. He wasn't standing out, one of the standout players. He had some good games with Harvey in the lineup. I think he had a couple of multi-touchdown games backing up Harvey. But I don't think he showed enough to outright steal that position from Harvey this year. But we all know that Harvey has explosive play ability. But Dobbins has that veteran experience, and as we all know, durability remains a question with him. He gets hurt every single year, every single year. It's not a matter of if he's going down, but a matter of when. Now, Sean Payton loves his versatile backs. He drafted Jonah Coleman this year. Jonah Coleman is the big bruise and power back. He's got a little shiftiness to him. But Sean Payton loves those versatile backs. If Harvey starts stealing that early down work, then he instantly becomes one of my favorite sleepers. Seattle running back, Seattle Seahawks running back position. Now, this one is a bit of a toss up because you got Zach Charbonnet. He's the returner, incumbent starter. You know, he played the most snaps last year, but he's hurt, most likely out until October, November. So questions remain. You know, they drafted Jadarian Price in the first round. George Halani played very well last year when Charbonnet went down. You know, he played random snaps throughout the season, played a big role in the postseason. So he's got the experience, offensive experience lead in that clubhouse. Kenny McIntosh been around for a while, hurt every year. This could be the year that he finally finds a role with that team. Who knows? Last year, I thought he was gonna get a little bit of a role, but he ended up getting hurt, turned that I think it was his ACL or Achilles or something, but it was a pretty severe injury. But this battle is most important because Charbonnet is out until later in the year. So he's going to be the favorite when he returns. But Price, high draft capital, he has speed that coaches love, breakaway ability. McIntosh played very well in college, had his moments in the league, and he's got a little bit of a receiving upside. But maybe he has untapped potential that we haven't discovered or seen yet. But Charbonnet remains a priority, but don't ignore Price and my big time sleeper, George Halani. They also drafted, or not drafted, picked up Emmanuel Wilson from the Packers. Now they're paying them pennies. But he played exceptionally well in relief of Josh Jacobs last year. So don't count him out either. We're gonna move on to the Jaguars running back situation. Bayshore Tootin versus Chris Rodriguez versus LaQuinn Allen. Chris Rodriguez has the veteran experience. He played with the coaches in college. Tootin already carved out touches last year and is the most explosive. He's the most explosive, and coaches love that. The thing that's going to stop him is his fumbling. He's got a case of the fumbleitis. LaQuinn Allen, he's the dark horse. Played very limited last year. Coaches love him. He's got 3-down potential, so he could easily usurp that position. So that's going to be a battle that I'm keeping an eye on. Rodriguez is hurt right now, so he hasn't been able to do much, but this is definitely a battle that I'm going to keep an eye on. He's more of a bruising type. He's not going to break away for 60 and 70-yard runs like Tootin, but he's going to potentially steal that goal line work away from him. Commanders. Moving on to Commanders. This is another ambiguous backfield. They've got Bill penciled in as a starter. They brought in Rachaad White, and they also drafted Bill 2.0 in Katron Allen. He's a late round running back who has significant potential. Rachaad White brings those pass catching chops, but he's very, 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 very limited on the ground. Bill, dual threat, showing what he can do in limited snaps, limited touches. Really, really high on Bill this year. Rachaad White is going to steal those receiving snaps. He's going to steal those because that's what he does. He, caught five balls a game in Tampa from Baker Mayfield. But Katron Allen is going to offer that power, big bruising running back. You could definitely steal those goal line touches, the money touches, as I like to call them. This backfield could easily become much more of a committee than a lot of people expect. So going to move on to the Browns wide receiver 1. They got a couple options. Technically Harold Fannin Jr., he's a tight end, but he's probably going to be the first option. Bro is a stud. But they got Jerry Judy, Denzel Boston, and Conception, two of those three that they drafted this year, this most recent draft now. Judy is the veteran, albeit not very established, but he's paid, overpaid, grossly overpaid. Boston's got the size, biggest receiver on the team, and then Conception is going to bring that explosive slot ability. Depending on who the quarterback is, it will touch that next. Now, if someone was to separate as the true wide receiver one, they'll become a major late round value. Major late round value. And it's going to take us to the Browns quarterback position, the battle. Three-headed monster, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, the incumbent, and also Deshaun Watson, who is making a comeback after being out for the last couple seasons. This is probably the most important battle. Watson is trying to reclaim the job. Gabriel processed quickly, didn't show much as a rookie, but he's the smaller of the bunch, tiniest of the bunch. Shedeur got a little bit of talent, processes a little bit slowly. But he's shown that he could get the job done. But fantasy impact, whoever wins, definitely to me raises the value of the wide receiver one. Howard Finney Jr. is going to benefit from stable QB play. Quinshon Judkins is going to definitely benefit from sustained drives. He's got top 10 running back potential, pending whoever's steering that ship. My prediction, I think Watson is probably the leader right now, but I got a feeling that we're going to hear something crazy like one of those two gets traded and Dylan Gabriel is going to end up starting at quarterback for the Browns this year. I've seen crazier things happen. This is one of those things that, he's taking that second year lead. Bro was a beast in college, man. Bro was throwing for 300 yards every game, 3 touchdowns. He was a beast in college. So very intrigued to see if that is going to translate over. Last battle that we're going to discuss is Tua versus Michael Penix. Tua absolutely flamed out in Miami last year. He's played, it's like 3 or 4 bad seasons under his belt. He's had one good year, and that got him paid, man. You always got to wonder with Tua, man, the ugly concussion is going to return. But he would provide proven accuracy, albeit not that great. Penix offers the long-term upside. Drake London and Bijan become more valuable if passing efficiency improves. This is one of the most fascinating QB battles because both quarterbacks can support fantasy stars. So I would intensely be super intrigued for Drake London if Michael Penix wins. Tua, don't know if he can get the ball to Drake. That remains to be seen, but it's going to be an interesting battle. Penix coming back from the knee injury, so we'll see how that one shakes out. Who do you guys think is involved in the biggest training camp battle right now? Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Who's got the highest upside? Which is the most underrated battle? And which is the best handcuff? You guys, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. If you're returning, thanks for that support. Smash that like button, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.